folks, this is the meeting of the Board of Public Works, Monday, January 22nd, 2024. Our meeting is starting at 6:01 PM, the DPW Media Room, 965 Plain Street. We have a revised agenda. Action item, number 1, drain layer license renewal. Number 2, annual extension of construction equipment rental and labor contract 2023-04. Number 3, change order number 1, contract number 2024-04, Bay Ave and Granite Road Beach Nourishment. Discussion, to discuss properties brought over the years for watershed protection. Number 2, trash receptacles. Number 3, storm drainage. Number 4 is indirect charge discussion. Vote to accept meeting, the minutes of January 8, 2024. The open meeting minutes, January 8, 2024. Executive meeting minutes. Superintendent's report. Our next scheduled meeting is February 5th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll go first to the drain layers license renewals. Sean, you want to take that, or you just want me to read them, or what do you want to do?
You could read them.
Okay, we have received 2024 drain layers license renewal applications for the contracted listed below submitted for our approval. Dana Biagini, Inc. James Rourke, All Time, Inc. Kevin Powell, Powell Construction Company. Clancy Construction Company, Inc. Leo Stickney, Cobra Enterprise, Inc. Kevin Sealand, Sealand Corporation. Russell B. Topman, Topman Enterprise, Inc. Dana H. Tibbet, Weed and Feed, Inc. Micah McDougal and McDougal Brothers Enterprise. Antonio Laria, Laria Brothers, Inc. Brian Rebinger, Ranger Construction. We do have, and I did see this, we have a report from the wastewater division, Clint Stetson. He approved all of them. Are there any questions? Any questions for you? Any questions from the audience? Okay. So I'll make a motion that we approve the contract drain layers license renewal for the contractors that I just listed. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two zip. Okay, now that one's done. That was
Mr.
easy.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just to let you know, Mr. Shaw is on the way.
Oh, okay. Well, he won't mind if we do the annual extension of construction equipment rental, or do you want to do something else? Okay, number 2, would that be you? Where's Rod? Oh, that's, oh, I'm sorry, Kenny, that's you.
That is me, yes.
Okay, let me get to 2.
I think you should have it in your package.
Yeah, give us a second. Okay. Ken Ryan, you have the floor, go ahead.
So last year, we went out for a rebid on this contract. It's a contract for equipment rental and labor for short-term maintenance, long-term infrastructure repairs, basically any repairs that we need that we can't do in-house at the time that we need the work to be done. So sometimes it's even under emergency conditions. So we went out to bid, and Mass Pavement Reclamation from Hanover, Mass. won the bid. It's a 3-year bid, but it's an annual renewal. So this is the second year of that 3-year bid. So they've done a lot of work for us in the past year. We did Willow Street, main water installation. We did the bridle path water main installation. We did Circuit Avenue. We had a couple sewer breaks that they repaired, as well as some drainage improvements. And right now, they're actually working on the Ashburton sewer replacement project. So they've done a lot of work for us. Staff recommendation is to extend it into the second year. And I have a motion. portion there.
I see it. So they're the ones that were doing the work over in Ashburn, and it came out pretty good.
Yes.
Any questions any questions from you, Madam Chairman?
No. No question.
Any questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Name and, just
Oh.
so they have it.
My name's Mary Taylor. I live on Grove Street. And I have a question about the berming that if they're the ones that did the bridle path replacement, they use this stuff to retain runoff, I guess. It's a mesh that's got debris, got natural fibers in it, but the mesh never disintegrates. It's just a comment about that. I mean, I clean up the trails. I'm on the trails committee, and I clean up the trails. And I don't know what that retainment system is, but when that mesh gets left behind these projects, is there a way we can have it be? Yeah, it's like a
Like a tube?
yeah, it's like a telephone pole. It looks like a biodegradable telephone, and it doesn't seem to serve any purpose other than it's after the project's done. Why isn't that stuff removed?
The wattle should have been removed from
It's-
the trail, but we still have some work to do. There's another trail along South River, so some of that is still in place until we can
Well,
get to that project.
it's still
but-
present by the bridge that goes
So
from.
they cut that with a knife, and then they were supposed to remove that,
Well-
and then the wood chips are supposed to remain.
It's a good
So if
idea,
there are-
but it's
we
not
can go-
there.
We can go pick it up. They should have picked it up.
Okay, so that's what we've done with the trails. In other words, those of us on the Trails Committee.
Right.
But 90% of us carry tools to cut brush, not to slice that. And
Right, no,
also,
no,
we
but
also
our
don't
guys
know
are
at what
supposed to-
point we're supposed to remove it, or somebody's gonna remove it. But it would be good if there was a little more continuity about
Right.
removing it, because it really is ugly. And stuff's growing in it half the time, and then it becomes poison ivy and bittersweet.
Well, a lot of times, they tell us to leave it.
They tell,
Conservation.
well, yeah, I understand it's valuable in that
Right.
way, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of,
I don't know how biodegradable it is, but I've seen it, and it doesn't biodegrade very quickly.
it
So I
doesn't,
agree with you.
it's like potato netting, I mean, plastic bags, it's,
Right.
yeah, all right.
On the trail, though, they were supposed to remove it, and if they didn't, we can go and remove that
Well,
portion of it.
we removed as much as we could in the fall, but
Right.
I mean, after the project was done, it quickly filled in with poison ivy and bittersweet. I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
you know how that stuff spreads. So, just a comment, thank you
No.
for that clarification.
Okay. Any other questions? You want to make the motion? You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make the motion to extend contract number 2023-04, construction equipment rental and labor with Mass Pavement Reclamation, Inc. of Hanover, Massachusetts for one additional year, starting November 15, 2023, and authorize the chairman, a designated member, to execute the contract documents when they have been prepared. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Rod. Number 3, change order number 1, contract number 2024-04, Bay Ave and Gurnett Road Beach Nourishment. Is that you, Rod?
Yes.
Okay.
The contract reported over 50%. Today I heard over 60% was put down of the 75,000, which was original quantity bid. And we are requesting an additional 25% at the same unit price. We had indicated that when we awarded the contract that we were going to increase it at least 25%. And so far, legal counsel has said we could go with the 25% for now. They're still going back and forth on that, but for tonight, I wanted to get going on that because they expect to complete the original delivery of 75,000 tons by Wednesday, the 31st. And this additional, it's almost just under 20,000 tons, will take them another 2 weeks to put down. So they're moving right along. We wanted to get this to the board as fast as possible so we wouldn't delay, you know, any work, because let's get them out of here, you know, if we can. You know, they're doing a pretty good job, but it's just a burden to have all those trucks going back and forth. So I propose change order number 1. It's been recommended by our consultant and CZM. Obviously, they want to put as much sediment as we possibly can on the beach. And this, at this point, 25% of the contract price is all have been authorized to increase the contract. The amount is that we're asking for an increase is $672,176, which is just under the 25%. And we have the funding through the grant that was provided to the town of Marshfield and Duxbury. So there's a motion to authorize that change order.
Question. Go ahead.
The question relates to the 25%. Is that because of the stipulation that's in the grant?
No, it's because of the procurement and the way they interpret increasing scopes to Chapter 39M projects, horizontal construction projects. It's the AG's position that somewhere around 25% is what they consider a maximum.
So what happens, we get a major storm and, you know, half of it goes out to sea.
We go out to
And
bid,
we-
or we ask the DCAM for an emergency you know, we declare an emergency, we go to DCAM for emergency procurement.
Okay, so there is a way of,
There is a way of doing it. I don't know if this would be considered an emergency, but it's possible. I mean, anything's possible, but they might want us to go and rebid, and frankly, I don't want it, because the time would be to put this thing out to bid and to get it, would leave us about 2 weeks, and then if you know, that everybody's thinking that Sumco, the low bidder, will get it, which he might, but he might not.
right,
And we had to go through a lot to review his source of sand, the testing we had to do. It didn't happen overnight.
no, right,
So
so
we're looking at like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then on top of that, any problems.
then we're
that
gonna lose
happen.
the end of it. The
And
reason why I
it's
brought the whole thing of 25% up is that we have money left in the grant of
Correct.
$700,000.
Right.
The issue is that could we make an inquiry now versus, you know, a what if to utilize the full amount of the grant from the grantor?
The grantor is in favor of it. They've been asked to weigh in on it with their connections with the state, and they won't. We've contacted the AG's office, they've given us our opinion, and our 2 town councils have given their opinion. We've had another attorney look at it, and he's totally opposite of what our attorney's saying, so they're thinking about it right now, but I don't think they're gonna change their mind. So, we get the 25%, and then either we rebid or I don't know, CZM finds another way of dispersing it.
I mean, we have time now versus trying to try to do it during an emergency situation. At least we want to have the trump card in our hand.
Yeah,
That's all my point.
yeah, I mean,
I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of spending all the money. I mean, these beaches need sand. It's been a long time coming. I know all the seawalls need it. We need it all over the state. So this is good for Marshall, good for Duxbury.
Yeah, it is Duxbury too.
Most of the work remains in Duxbury because we kind of worked, pushed everything to the north and then worked our way back. So the remaining amount goes into Duxbury, mostly. But there's still some, I think like 5,000 tons that have to go into Marshfield, I was told this morning. We'll see. I mean, a lot of the material's been moved around through that storm and got flattened right out, but it's still there. And, you know, some of it'll end up leaving the system. And in the spring, some of it'll come back and some of it gets sucked into the gut there, the narrows.
So we can put it over Brent Rock.
I don't know if it's gonna go that north, but it's, you know, it's a moving target out there. It's a
Okay.
process and it mixes itself.
So the Woods Hole Group is the consulting representative of both towns, and they're providing directions to where to place the sediment.
That's correct.
And some of the 5 tons will go at the beach access ramp, maybe at Bay Ave. I think that's what it says here.
There's still some more work that has to be done there.
Okay, so,
I have a question.
yeah, go right ahead.
Do they have an opinion how long it's gonna actually last?
Ah.
Like, I know it's a guess, but it must be, they must have an opinion based on data.
Well, they had an opinion, when we did the original study, I think it was like 500,000 cubic yards of material, which is almost 10 times more than what we're putting down, would last 6 years in the system. So.
Enjoy it while it's here.
Enjoy it while it's here.
Wow.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But that's
Doesn't seem-
what happens.
I mean, it's what is approved to be done, but it doesn't seem very efficient to me.
But they are putting material out from the Narrows out at the near shore too, so that combination of what we're putting out and the stuff that's coming out, getting dredged out, might add to the system a little bit more. I think they're only probably taking out, usually it's like 15,000 cubic yards that comes out of the Narrows of gravel and cobble, though, that a little bit heavier material that they have in there probably would stay. This has a gravel component to it, but it's not, you know, it moves.
Okay. All right, so just for the audience, the original contract was $2,688,800. The 25% increase is $672,200. It's 35, almost 30, it's $35 a ton. It's almost 20 tons, 19,540. It's gonna cost $672,176. Regional contract, $2,688,800. We're increasing it 25%. The total is $3,360,976. Funding available, $4 million, Town of Duxbury, Marshfield, Coastal Resiliency Grants, matching funds. So, any questions, any questions from the audience?
Nope.
Any questions? Sean?
No, sir.
Who wants to make the motion? You want to make it, or you, Bob, want to make it, or?
I'll make the motion. Motion to authorize change order number 1 to contract 2024-04 with Sumco Echo Contracting LLC of Peabody, Mass. to increase the amount of the contract $672,176 for additional beach sediment for the unit bid price, and the chairman designate sign the change order when the documents are prepared. Second.
Second?
All in
those
favor?
Aye,
Aye.
3-0.
I still would like to move on our trump card.
Okay. I guess we can call and see if we can declare it an emergency.
Well, the thing is, we're getting storms, and it's like, you know, if we have room in the budget, and they allow it, especially when it's only
There's
good for
another
6
project
years.
going on in Duxbury Beach, in the dune area. I haven't started yet, I don't think, and you know. They're moving about the same amount of material, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't know if they could work something out, but
Okay.
That's just, that's a competing, competing, truck traffic that we're gonna have to deal with.
Right.
So would your idea, I have a question for Bob, would that use up the rest of that grant, is that what you're saying?
Well, we
You
can
wouldn't
either,
still have-
that's what I was saying, you can either do a change order with legal approval,
Right.
because the state law, kind of puts some limits on what you can add to a contract.
Right.
Where you have, because otherwise they look at it from the standpoint of, you're trying to circumvent the procurement of rules and regulations. But if, in a case of emergency, like a storm or something, they could waive that. And that's all I'm looking for is to get some kind of determination of discussion that if we do have an emergency, could we use this, or do we require to go back out to bid?
We're trying to avoid going back up to bid because,
Yeah.
A, it's gonna take a long time to get it out in central register and then get somebody to bid on it, go through the process, and then if somebody else gets the award, then we
It
have
has to start all over again,
pull all the
right.
equipment out, remobilize, and then your window is like this.
Right, and it took a long time to figure out that gravel
It did.
component.
Right.
and
It
I
did.
remember.
And it's expensive for mobilization and demobilization.
It's a lot.
So you're not saying that in place of the change order, you're just saying that should be done?
Above and
Well, we
beyond.
want-
Or you should at least find, you should find out.
If this will buy us like 3 weeks' time.
Right.
You get to the 24th to finish what they have, and another couple of weeks to use up the
The
19,000.
Right.
In the meantime, if they can allow us to do some sort of emergency procurement, maybe we can call up contractors that bid and see if they're willing to give us a bid proposal. I don't know.
Yeah, fine.
But it
agree.
could really,
That's a good
it
idea.
could really muck things up.
Really. Especially the resample again.
What's that?
You had to resample all the material again.
You gotta go
Somebody
through
else
this,
wanted to
yeah.
draw the
Do we have
project.
to vote on that?
We just did.
No, I mean, on your.
No, because we have to come up to the board, we don't know what the,
Well, I'll come back to the
Back
board.
to-
Back.
Yeah, but,
You can find out.
yeah.
so we did do the first two?
Yeah. Good, they were kind of quick, boss.
That's great.
Okay, so let's move on to discussion. Number one is to discuss properties bought over the years for watershed protection. Who's gonna take that? Sean, you wanna take that, or what do you want to do here? Go to the audience?
I put it in the agenda like this, to kind of leave it open for discussion of various properties that we bought over the years, and what we expect to do with them. Diane, you got some questions about different locations, what we could use them for, so I left it kind of wide open for us to discuss about it, whatever questions you guys have in the audience about properties we bought and properties we may be looking at.
I think maybe just start at the top, so people can get a full picture of it.
You wanna,
I don't know.
you
What
wanna?
do you think?
Yeah, you wanna read this in for the record?
Is that in
We-
here?
Yeah.
Did you give us any paperwork on this?
So Anne Marie and Dave worked on getting the information you have right there in front of you. for, some
Thank you,
past
Dave. Thank you,
properties.
Emery. Yep. How about
I can
this?
read it.
You want to read this?
Sure.
We'll read this for the audience. I think it's a water system evaluation. Where was that from?
This is dated 2013.
It's from a letter from the Attorney General dated June 30th, 2022. Is that correct?
I don't know, this is 2013.
The water supply, is that correct? You want to read this one? That one right there.
Sure. The safety and quality of public drinking water is controlled through the Safe Drinking Water Act, which is mandated by the EPA as federal law. Through the Safe Drinking Water Act, EPA sets drinking water standards and oversees the states and public water suppliers. Mass DEP upholds the SDWA, Safe Drinking Water Act, and on the state level through its drinking water regulations. And there's a number.
310 CMR 22.00.
Thanks. A section of the regulations 310 CMR 22.21 sets requirements for groundwater supply protection. The requirements of this section set forth land use restrictions for both the zones 1 and 2 of a well supply. Land within a Zone 1 must be town-owned or controlled, which is not the case for some of the town's well supplies. There are potential sources of contamination associated with the lack of Zone 1 ownership and the proximity of well supplies to existing homes. The town should continue its trend of purchasing parcels to protect its water supplies. The water supply protection areas are shown on, I guess
Must be a map.
it's a map, there's a map on the town website. There's a few different maps. They're kind of all over the place. There's some at town hall,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Um,
And this is from the town website.
This is from the Marshfield town
Yeah.
website, yeah. That's our water system evaluation in the overview section, so.
So
take it
I
from
think
there, or-
what you folks are trying to do is, you want to explain to people why you buy these properties, the reasons why. You're trying to protect the watershed. And maybe Bob or John, you can elaborate on that.
We need,
Well, I spent 10 years plus on the Open Space Committee in Marshfield, in which I was representing water supply procurement, actually water supply parcels. And in such time, we spent probably $10 million worth of buying land, to protect our wells. We bought Matuxet Woods. We bought land on Union Street. We bought land on Main Street, by Ferry Street.
Yeah.
We put in Ferry 2. We put in new water supply services. And we're picking ahead. I mean, it was when we bought all this land, it was a downturn in the economy. So we were paying a good price. Now it's gone up in value. I mean, right now the land is very expensive, whereas we got it for pretty much considered today, it's a bargain. We do have 2 parcels that we bought on Main Street. Within our Zone 1, there's another parcel that we need to talk about. I don't want to talk about here, but we can talk about in the future. And Dave Terry was superintendent at the time, he did a great job. We bought Matuxet Woods during an economic time zone and stopped the 40B from happening. Board of Public Works has always been pushing forward to protect our water supply the best we can. It's, you know, you don't want to be taking people's land, but if someone wants to get it, it's a friendly taking, it's great. The issue of it has been is when you get into eminent domain takings. The 40Bs that come in and want to come in and degrade the water supply. It would be cheaper to buy it than it would be to have it built and put a treatment system in. A treatment system especially with PFAS, and that just blows right through a septic system, is in the $3 to $5 to $8 to $10 million range. And if you think your water rates are decent now, they're not going to be in the future. So Dave, I'll get you in a second.
Yep.
You know, we're in competition with private developers. We always have been. Historically, Warren Harrington, who was on the Conservation Commission, worked with Joe Lerner at the state level and got a lot of grants from Carolina Hill. Carolina Hill is protected, has been protected because of those 2 individuals. The things that I've done with the people on the Open Space Committee during the 2007 to 2014 was unheard of, but the economic downturn was a benefit to the town. As we move forward, we're always looking for those parcels that have a detriment to the water supply. And if you go back to the CCR reports that we give out every year, we listed them in all those reports. So basically, we're gonna move forward, and we should do a due diligence to buy it, because it's a lot cheaper to protect the water supply from owning the surrounding land than it is to treat it.
Can you be specific, like buy,
Huh?
can you be specific when you say we should buy it so that the audience knows what?
We should own the land. I call it the Poland Spring attitude. Poland Spring, Maine is if you own the land, you own the water, and you don't have to treat it. So it's pure. You know, but the big kicker is the PFAS. PFAS is coming down from the sky, it's coming from people's septic systems.
It's coming from everywhere.
It's coming everywhere.
Let's move on to the
So-
PFAS, but, yeah, go ahead.
So, okay.
Hold on, Bob, yeah.
Dave Carey, 3 Groveland Road. One thing that Bob didn't mention, but was also a tool that we've used and is not applicable in the situation associated with the Regani pit, but that is also for properties that have adjacent property within the Zone 2s and Zone 1s. We put on conservation restrictions, which we paid the owners for, and they travel over with the sale of the house so that that land is protected going forward as well.
Yes, that's a good point, because that doesn't always work. It depends on how it was legally put, the conservation easement was put in, because in this town, we have had conservation easements overturned in the court, and a builder has been allowed to build on those parcels.
Right, with 40B, it doesn't matter if it's
No, it's-
town conservation
Yeah, but we have
rules.
Article 10 here we need
It's-
to discuss.
yeah.
too, Bob.
Okay.
Okay.
Article 10 that was passed in 2021. Dave was very responsible for this. You want me to read it, Dave, or do you?
Fire away, Joe.
Okay, you with me, Article 10? This is in 2021, it was passed at town meeting, and I'll read it. Under Article 10, the town voted to amend the town's general bylaws, section 285-19, -1. Notice to town, certain work prohibited within Zone 1, to add new text that requires notice to the town when work or activities are performed within the town's wellhead protection zones. The required notice must include a list of substances that contain PFAS. Further, the entity performing the work must explain to the town why products or chemicals without PFAS cannot be used for the work, and submit work plans detailing the mitigation efforts to be implemented. As amended, section 285-19 states as following, this new text in bold. And the area, I'll just read part of it. The area, immediate recharge, and also in the water resource protection recharge area referred to as Zone 2. Entities performing any activities in Zone 1 or 2 of the town aquifers are also required to provide the superintendent, water supervisor, town engineer, board of health, a complete list of substances that contain the chemicals or other products containing PFAS. So I could go on, this is rather lengthy. You want me to read the whole thing, or?
It's your call.
Or maybe summarize, basically.
Yeah, in other words, this contract, any contractor working in a water protection district has to use chemicals without PFAS. That's basically what it says. And then they have to report to the superintendent, to Rod, to the town engineer.
Well, they have to show why they can't avoid it, that it's unavoidable.
And how they'll keep it out.
Right. So this is something, go right ahead.
There's one thing a suggestion for the board as you go forward, since you have a special town meeting, an annual town meeting coming up. The one party that I didn't include when we wrote this bylaw was the building inspector, simply because at the time, it was not anticipated in any way, shape, or form that we were dealing with a 40B coming up. This was targeted originally because of Osmos
Right,
subcontracting to Verizon
on the telephone poles.
on doing preservation telephone poles, which involved an insecticide and wood preservative along with those steel shields you see there. And they were doing that in front of our well sites.
Yes.
And, you know, At the time, Sean was tied up down on Central Street, and
You picked it up.
I went after him, okay, and originally it was written specifically targeting work that would be done in Zone 1. It was extended to Zone 2 with all the PFAS information that broke in 28-1 and 20. But, you know, I did not anticipate at the time that we would be dealing with buildings within Zone 2 for this purpose. So the building inspector is now, you know, presuming a 40B goes forward in some Zone 2, whether it's this one or another one, he should be involved so that he can help assist in the reinforcement of the PFAS requirements to eliminate them or prevent them from getting into the groundwater.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
Go ahead, Bobby.
so do we need to amend?
That would be a simple amendment to just add him to the notification list.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
So you want to give us the wording so we can make
Try to
make
talk.
an article?
It's right here, Bobby.
No,
You're just adding his name.
Just
it's
add-
adding his name.
Yeah, to
But it
the
has to go to town
superintendent,
meeting.
water
It has to go to town
supervisor,
meeting
town
and vote.
engineer,
Right.
and the board of health.
And the Board of Health.
They're all in there, he's not.
Okay.
It says provide to the superintendent, water supervisor. We're just gonna add
Yep, that's right.
And the board of health.
to that, Board of
Should be
Health
simple.
and the
Yeah.
building commission.
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah.
That's just a recommendation.
Yeah.
That's a good
And
idea.
lady.
And this applies to any type of work and any type of work in our water protection district.
And one of the things I would mention on it was, at the time this was being drafted, one of the things that we were basically imposing on the select board at the time was to not allow the photovoltaic field to be put in Wheeler's Pit,
Right.
because of the concern there with getting PFAS into the groundwater. And, you know, they backed off on that. And PFAS is in electrical wiring, the PVC piping, or metal piping if you're using, or if you're using compound to pull the cables, that contains the PFAS just as likely as everything else. And who knows what they use to clean the photovoltaic surface on those once they're in place. And happily, they
that's
just backed off on it.
Well,
So it was
that's-
not targeted against the 40B, it was targeted against, its main target is just protect the water system.
Correct. It's not limited to new construction. It applies to that.
Yeah.
So there's some of the arrows in the quiver, but
John, so we should direct the superintendent to put an article in for the special town meeting
To amend that.
to amend this.
yeah, okay, all right.
That would be the efficient way of doing it.
You wanna make
And
it-
Dave, we want to review, since you wrote this original?
Well, what I will do is I will take the text, which I think I still have on my computer at home, and email it to Sean,
Oh, good.
just plug the words in. You guys can adjust it as you see fit.
I'm in favor of that.
I'm up fine, okay.
Okay, good.
All right, we'll do that, yeah. Okay, so what does that leave us, Sean?
I'll close the, if you'd like, about.
Yeah, go ahead,
Article.
yeah.
I just want to say that the board is doing its due diligence to protect the water in this town. I've been to different communities and worked in different communities, and by far, the town of Marshfield has the best water, and we want to keep it that way. And I know for a fact that everybody's trying to do the best they can to make sure that things are done properly, and if they can't buy the property, then they're going to put sanctions on different issues and make sure that things are done properly. So I just want the public to know that the board is doing its due diligence to make sure that our water is going to stay clean. That's all.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, we'll recommend, so can I just make a
Go ahead.
comment on that? We'll make the recommendation to the ZBA, because we can't actually, they have to do it. As far as like, whatever sanctions that we're gonna put on,
No, correct me
if
if
the,
I'm wrong.
if the project goes forward.
I think the board has the right to do that.
We
Now,
can, we
you
can
may be
recommend
able-
to the ZBA
Or
that
you
that
could,
be
or you
done.
could direct me to go there and do it.
Yeah, we could recommend to the ZBA, but
I
the
suggest you do it,
ZBA.
one way or another.
Yeah, I mean,
Like we
right,
talked
I just
about.
didn't want to give people the idea that we could do something that we can't do with regard to 40B.
No, but I
That's
think
all.
the
can
public
do a
has to
lot.
know you're doing your best.
So.
Yeah, we are. We all are.
I have a question. I have a question. At the last meeting we were here, we had town council that talked about the ZBA. And we had sent a letter to the ZBA requesting additional time so that we can hire a consultant to look at a conceptual site model of the aquifer and how the fate and transport of the water goes through the different properties to our well systems. Because we have three separate wells that are basically magnets, pulling everything through. And so my question is twofold. One is, what did the ZBA, did they give us additional time? And two, we had an RFP out requesting proposals in from consultants. Where is the status of
I
that?
can answer that.
So,
RFQ, we have got several people that responded. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rod, but we have until noon time on Wednesday,
Right,
when everything, they're all in.
to get their statement of qualifications into us.
Rod and I are putting together a review team consisting of myself, Mr. Bowen, Ken, and Rod, to go over the applications and narrow it down to 3.
Okay,
And bring the 3 to the board.
okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Could a board member be on the, if you?
That was a question we asked this afternoon, and I'm not sure.
Find out, I'd be more than happy to help.
We figured you would.
I'd vote for that.
And that's, we did bring that up.
We can put you on there, Bobby.
Well, I do this for a long
I
time.
know you do.
And I think, I don't see why you couldn't. I think it's been done in the past. That you've been selected or a board member's been on a different committee or, so I would be in favor of that, but I'll find out for sure.
So what did the ZBA, did they give us time?
I do not know. I know the letter was delivered, and I think we have until June
No.
to come up with the
Right, I can
results.
answer that question.
I wasn't at the meeting, so if you know something I don't know.
I can
Well,
answer that question.
Brian Murphy said he's gonna try to stall as long as he can in terms of, information that is needed, and any input from us. I told him that we would likely have some sort of a bench, once we get a hydrogeologist on board, that we wanna, and they probably will recommend that we put some wells out there. So we would probably try to get some wells in place. The hydrogeologist would locate the wells where we wanna put them. But more than likely, there'll be some sort of a table, benchtop type analysis so that we could get some understanding, and, they can provide the board some direction as to where to go. And then maybe there's more in-depth modeling that has to be done, but at least there'd be like an interim step. But we haven't talked with the hydrogeologist yet. I have talked to an LSP that was from Weston and Sampson that does work for us. And they gave us an idea of kind of how things would probably move. This is a statement of qualifications, so we're looking at their background and we're picking as a team that has experience and prior, that can do this type of investigation. And then I guess our committee will narrow it down, we'll interview them, and then make a recommendation to the board, and then that particular firm that's selected would sit down with us and, look and kind of create a scope of work. So they're just giving us calls right now, not proposals. But I did ask for a general understanding. I sent the report that was given to us by for the nitrates for this particular 40B, to give them an idea of what we're up against and what our major concern was. So I set out an addendum once we got some feedback from the board and the general public. I gave them more information. It wasn't just give me your qualifications. I kind of gave him an idea of what we were up against and that it was time sensitive. So
Okay.
we'll see on Wednesday and we'll try to move as fast as we can to get somebody on board. But I think Brian said Brian Murphy, who was, I don't know if he's chairman of the
He's the
ZBA.
chair.
Yeah, said that he would give us some time.
Not much.
Not much, but it'll give us some time to at least get the individual on board and to figure out what we need to do.
Okay.
And I have a comment about that. So, just so that people don't think that this piece is being ignored. So, I got this from a resident who's been looking into that landfill issue. So, and I emailed you, Ken, about this person was looking for information. So she said she found on the landfill, unlined landfill that contains C and D materials circa 1977 to 1988, quote, "The landfill is approximately 30 feet deep. Groundwater from this landfill flows in a southwest to northeast direction towards the aquifer and beyond towards the ocean. In 1989, that landfill wasn't required to have stormwater runoff controls. 5 monitoring well test information isn't understood by someone in the town." So I think the concern with her with this is that when
Gravel is-
yeah, that when the DEP licensed this, they didn't have the same requirements that we have now. So are details like this and how much gravel and sand is gonna be removed and stuff like that, is the hydrogeologist gonna get you guys are gonna give him all of that info, or her, or them, all of that information to
I'm
look
not
at?
sure if there's any information that DEP has about the landfill, but I was told that it was lined with clay.
It's not.
But it may or may not be, I don't know.
But they're gonna-
I was told that.
yeah.
So right here, it's not.
So we're gonna get a full picture, basically, of kind of what,
Right. I mean, if it was
hope.
online, we're gonna find it when we put that well in there, because it's moving in that direction.
okay.
And as long as they put it in the right location. There's been no testing in that direction that I know of any groundwater that I know of,
Okay.
as far as water, water quality. I think we're gonna ask the proponent of this 40B project if we can put a well right where we want to put it, on his property, and see what they say.
The owner who's selling it, I mean?
Owner, yeah,
Or the one who's
whoever
buying.
owns it or buys it,
Okay.
the both of them.
So as part of the process of whether,
I guess
The
we'll
town is
just go on the
deciding they're gonna-
ZBA and say we want to put some wells on their property,
right, before anything moves forward,
like
yeah.
as soon as possible.
Right, as soon as possible, that's a good idea.
Just so we know what we're up against.
Question in the back?
Yeah, I'm Laura Olson, Ferry Street. On that document that we found on the DEP website about the landfill, there is a section on there that talks about testing. But when we try to get information from the town to see when the tests were done, what tests were done, what was found, what wasn't found, no one has any information on it. But in the letter from the DEP, it specifically states that it's supposed to be tested on a regular basis. It gives a timeline, and no one's testing it that we can find.
Says it right here. This is from the DEP, guys. I got this from the DEP website. This is a letter that the town was copied on in an email. That's how you got it. It came to the Board of Health in an email. That's why it can't be found, because it was in 2013. Karen in Greg Geeman's office, the assistant, what's her title? Planner, assistant planner, handed this to me last week, and she Googled it, and that's how she found it. I've been all over the EP, over this website, couldn't get it, made phone calls, still didn't get it. Went to the Board of Health, they don't have it. because the current Board of Health doesn't have the records from an email in 2013. It says right here, it's copied back here. Signed, Mark Dakers, Chief Solid Waste Management Section, EC: Town of Marshfield Board of Health, Peter Falabella, Health Officer, in his email.
So who was that directed to?
This was about when the,
No, what was the letter directed to?
yes, I'm trying to answer the question. This was when the letter was directed to Mary O'Donnell, president of No Fossil Fuel LLC. This was when the first, I believe from reading this, that the first solar array was permitted to go on that land. And it goes into great detail, page 2, 3, site description and investigations, and it describes this landfill. And I'm in a butter to this landfill, so I wanted details. I'm concerned that this mining project that abuts this, you know, and it says right here about wells. Groundwater at the site flows in a southwest to northeast direction toward the ocean, to which the landfill is equipped with 5 groundwater monitoring wells that are routinely sampled / monitored on a semi-annual and an IE.2x/year schedule. There are no surface waters around the site that would require monitoring. It shall be noted that at the time of the landfill's closure and capping, it was not equipped with stormwater runoff controls. Stormwater runoff from the landfill was described as sheet flow. For according to regulatory requirements that were in effect at that time, circa 1989, such specific controls, detention basins, were not stipulated regulatory landfill design equipment. Prior to that, in the earlier paragraph, it describes the landfill is situated in an industrial area. Where does it say? It says it's not
It says online.
unlined. It says it's unlined in this paragraph.
I've just sent that letter to, just for you, you'll get your.
I mean, I've also sent it to various departments in
Right.
town as a result of finding it in the, you know, I sent it to the Board of Health today. I sent it to the Selectmen today. Trying to think who else I sent it
Send it
to.
to me.
I did, oh, I sent it to you, Diane. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
listening.
Oh, that's, I mean,
I'm
Right.
sick to
Yeah.
learn that this is online.
Yeah, I was told it
Now,
was.
well, let me, what it states in here, and you'll get a copy of it if I can get your, I'll send it to you, or somebody will send it
I've
to you.
just sent that to your email.
But what it says, all right, let me just say, it's not lined. The lateral limits of buried solid waste at the landfill encompass approximately 20 acres of site. So it's a 27-acre parcel, but it's saying the lateral limits that encompass are approximately 20 acres of the site. So it may not be lined with clay as it's capped with clay, but it has a buffer of acres, since one would assume, but we don't know what the actual specific position is of this 20 acres that's 30 feet deep within that 27 acre. Do we know if it's on the northwest side, which is, you know, where, I'm just saying, is it evenly positioned? We don't know. There isn't any details on that. That's kind of a specific question, you know, square peg, round hole kind of question to me. And I don't understand the flows, but I assume people around here do. And the slope is approximately 2%. Again, that doesn't mean much to me. I mean, it's not a big slope. But it says the elevation is 107 feet above mean sea level. They're going to excavate. The slopes are going to be considerable from 107 feet elevation. The way I interpret it, it's going to come down 28 feet over 14. I don't know the math. all right? I need somebody with hand signals, I'm visual, to show me the angles. I don't understand it, but I know intuitively it's wrong.
I just want to finish the second half of my question.
Sorry, Laura.
It's okay, I know, it's okay.
You've done an awesome job.
I know that you spoke about the Safe Drinking Water Act, and that's on a state level. We're petrified of this landfill. I wish I never found out what was buried under there, because I live right behind it too. Can't the state help us with this, or do we have to wait? Can't we ask someone from the state to come in and look at this? It's scary. I live right behind this. Anyone? Know anyone that can?
DEP would be the logical, but I don't know.
I'm getting crickets. I did get a phone call back,
Yeah.
but they didn't, I had to read this document to him on the phone. Thank God for Karen. She handed this to me.
I'm reading it right now, and I know, I'm gonna call somebody else.
I mean, it's like,
That Mark Davis is a real good guy, and he could,
he signed it.
yeah, I mean, he could probably, Ken knows.
So the landfill was in effect from 1977 to 1988, it was capped in 89, 90. So it wouldn't be lined at that time, in the 70s, no way.
No.
Well, that's it, it might not have been required, but I was told that they lined it with clay. I was told, I'm just saying that.
They capped it with clay.
They capped
I'm
it.
talking lined it when they were digging
No.
it out, when they were.
It says online right in the
Well, I
way.
know it says online, but
Yeah, I hear
whether,
you.
we could find out if it was
I hope
lined,
so.
they could sink a well down there.
Oh, we're gonna have to, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
That's
We need to
the
find
idea of
out.
hiring a consultant.
yeah.
we'll put a well in right next to it and find out.
Well, it has wells on it supposedly.
Yeah, they have wells on the top, on the cap. But-
No, we're gonna have to
We
look at.
put one in one corner up by, right across from the transfer station entrance, and it went down like, I don't know, less than 20 feet, to like a refusal. There's no water on that corner,
The
but
refusal is it the C and D we get.
I don't know what it was, but they didn't have any water, they didn't hit any groundwater at that point, but they couldn't go any further with it. But that was on the, it was Horsley and Witten that we hired initially to kind of figure out, the groundwater flow to give us some initial hydrogeological background as to where things were going under a non-zone 2 pumping scenario. And they did kind of agree that it was kind of headed in a northeasterly direction.
Is that the direction of the aquifer?
The aquifer is very big,
Yeah.
but it's not heading directly at the wells. It's kind of heading towards Grove Street and, the intersection of Grove and Ferry, kind of that intersection. kind of
Right
in
under
that
my
direction.
property.
Heading in that direction.
Right under my organic garden.
Under zone 2 pumping, it starts to pull it towards the, right directly
Towards
to
the
the
wells.
north, towards the
north.
wells.
Oh, because Church Street Church Street wouldn't pull.
It
Well,
pull- a little bit, it pulls it to the north towards our wells when it's pumping with no recharge for 180 days. That's when they generated that zone 2.
So in
They
drought,
simulated that under a drought.
I shouldn't dig too deep. I've been wanting to put a well on my property. I sure as hell won't now.
Well, we did put a well in, off of Grove Street. There was two wells two other wells that they put in, one there and then one further down. I don't recall them doing, I think they did water quality. Do you remember?
They did some of it, I want to say,
They didn't
Where
find
on
any.
Grove?
it was done like about two, it was, I think,
Oh, was
they
it
terminated with no findings to that point,
I'll see
like
if I can
2012,
find anything on that.
2013.
What year was that?
That was
Roughly.
2010?
All right, so in the 20th century anyway.
Yeah, I'll see if there was any.
I mean, the 21st century, pardon me.
We hired them initially just to give us some idea of which way the groundwater is flowing, because the question did come up.
It was part of the first process when Peter Armstrong was coming in with just a
Oh,
straight-out
sorry.
gravel removal
Trying to be
project. That's when
polite.
we did those wells.
Right.
It was late 2009, 2010.
Well, you've got a long list of things for the hydrogeologist to look at, and it just got longer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, thank you.
Landfill is an issue.
I have a well on my property. And when we put it in, we had to have the water tested, and we had it done at, I believe it's Morel Associates? Is that the one near the police station?
Yeah.
I could pull the copy of the report they gave me
Yeah.
from them.
Did they do a full run-up of DOCs?
I don't exactly recall everything they tested for because we weren't using it for drinking.
Right.
We were only using it for irrigation. Right now, my pump's not working, so, but it's still there, like the well's still there, I'm just waiting for a new pump.
Right.
And when I get the new pump,
Test requirements.
Yeah.
if that's helpful at all.
Don't know.
If you find it, send it.
Yeah, anything I can give the hydrologist will help.
And you were talking about putting a well on the 10-acre site.
At least, I would think the hydrogeologist will put something on the.
What about the
along-
5-acre site?
Well, probably between the 5-acre site and the 10-acre site, and then maybe on the
Because
other
he's
end of the
filling it.
farm.
He's been filling it all along. He takes it out and then he fills it. And it's got debris all over it, like giant PVC pipe, pieces of pilings from the South River. You know,
Yes.
I've sent all the photographs to the town, made trash complaints, never heard a word. So, you know, as an abutter, it's been a nightmare. And knowing that we live on the aquifer and we're really careful about the way we take care of our property, you know, we don't fertilize with chemicals, we don't kill anything with anything chemical. We're really careful. And then you've got this giant piece of property next to you and the person that owns it doesn't care
So,
what's buried there.
John, can we move on? I mean, I just want to.
I'm sorry.
I think that, I want us to, I'll just say a last statement is, the statement is that the reason why we're hiring this consultant is to really look at
Thank you.
a conceptual site model. And a conceptual site model, what it is everything that's going on within the aquifer. So if you think of a model like a bucket, what's going on within that bucket? And what are all the different contributions, the areas of contribution of water going in, whether the withdrawal is going out, and what are the risks involved, and where are they located. So all the information that you are providing is going to go to the expert, and it's going to
That's
come
all
up with
we
a
want. We
plan
want
of
expert
where is
opinion.
all the missing data, where do we need to put wells. And if they push forward this 40B, what are we going to do to protect this town with century wells between us and that development? So that, and then what are the legal requirements that if there is an issue, you know, financially, we need to hold them to the fire.
That's true.
So that's my perspective of why I would want to be on the evaluation piece, and also to look at the scope of work to deal with that.
On accountability, that score. Town council was less than enthusiastic about the idea of that because the way he said, if we make it unaffordable, you know, if we make it unattractive by setting all these parameters, does it doesn't prevent the developers from going back to this HAC and saying, oh, they're putting up too many constraints, they want too big a bond, or whatever. And does this,
Well, here's the but.
good, there's a but.
The but, 40Bs can't violate state and federal regulations.
Well, that's why we're
So-
finding
so-
state
I understand that.
information.
So we need to have professional documentation and evidence to make the argument, is it going to affect our well system or not? That's what we're at.
Okay,
Thank you.
Just one more thing.
go ahead.
You know, I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't get your name.
My name's Mary Taylor.
Okay, nice to meet you, and you brought something to the table that I didn't realize, and one of my biggest concerns was, and I talked to Rod about it, was breakout from the landfill itself. Where
Good.
it's not lined, this is a major problem. And I'll assure you that we're gonna do the best we can to get the professionals in here and get it taken care of and get it looked at, because that's a concerning factor.
I mean, it might have been lined, but it might have been lined on the bottom, and you've got this excavation
said
that's
unlined.
30 feet high.
What do you mean, what they mean by unlined, man, is that it's not a permeable lining, it's not the.
They may not be landing on the side, you could be taking out the side, and,
It's,
That's exactly my fear. I read, it's my
Exactly.
nightmare, right there. I read it.
yeah.
Was the landfill, proximity to the landfill discussed in the developer's presentation at all? I mean, I know a lot of people asked questions,
probably not.
but I don't think
There's
they
nothing that
answered
we've read in
them.
the
And there's nothing
documentation.
in the
No,
proposal, the project proposal.
There's
that says
a
anything about that.
400-page groundwater document.
Right, so,
Doesn't talk about the,
Right.
that I'm aware of, the landfill.
Well, we have a lot of information to go over. Dave, you want to finish this up?
Yeah, just, the one thing I think you all need to keep in mind is that this is the first 40B going into an aquifer area where there's actually a bylaw that stipulates what should be done in the construction. You know, and that is not something that is just to stop a 40B, it's
but
across the board for
I have a
whatever.
question,
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
though, Dave, because it's a bylaw, it's a Marshfield bylaw.
It's a Marshfield bylaw endorsed by the Attorney General's
Right, but is it
office as
state law?
accepted. Huh?
Is it state law?
No.
It's not
It's
state
not
law.
state law, it's not state law, but the language that is in the letter that was received from Martha Healy, okay, at the time, stated that it was
She proved
in,
it.
with conforming to DEP policy and guidelines with regard to the maintenance of water
Oh, we
quality.
need that.
Okay,
Bylaws
Yeah,
can be
I mean,
stronger
it-
than state law.
But not against the
Thank
40B.
you. I'd like that.
It's only state or federal law.
Bylaws can be
Yeah.
stronger
End up
than
in
state
court.
law.
Oh, yeah,
But
and
not
we're
with
the ones,
40B,
the
not
abutters
according to
have to go to
Marshfield.
court.
I know.
It's not right.
No, I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
just not right,
so-
when all of this land is abutted by town-owned property, except a few of us
We
that are
agree.
just on the other side.
We agree.
We're in
Totally
complete
fresh
agreement. But
Okay,
it's great
we're gonna
because this is
move on.
helping everybody that
Well, that
all,
was-
you know, you residents are
Okay.
working like really hard. This group is working very hard. And I, for one, greatly appreciate it.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the next item. Unless there's somebody else that
Did you,
wants
was
to.
there anything else about land?
No, I'm all
that you
set.
wanted to
Okay.
tell us? Okay.
Trash receptacles. That's you, Tim.
Yes, and I don't have an update. I said that we were gonna look at the retained earnings and get the certified retained earnings. They're still
Nothing yet.
working on certifying those.
Okay, so
Okay.
we'll bypass that for the next meeting. Hopefully, they'll have the retained earnings, or they'll have the free cash straightened out.
Questions over here? The chairman, please.
I'm sorry.
Hi, Mary Murphy, 252 Ocean Street regarding trash receptacles. I came here for that line item. I'm just wondering, what is that in reference to? Is it anything to do with trash receptacles in the winter around the beach, perhaps?
No,
No, this is for the, go ahead.
no, and I talked to Cindy about that, and we're gonna get together with you
Okay,
about what you requested, and I have no problem with that.
okay, cool. I was just curious. I saw the line
Yep.
item and I thought, sure.
We're just moving on to storm drainage. Is that you, Sean?
That would be me.
Go ahead.
And I think we're talking about the Brand Rock area specifically.
Yeah, I wanted
Questions
to
you
put
have?
this on as a discussion to just kind of get like a more clear view of how the whole system works and maybe what the schedule is for clearing out the drains, and also a couple of, you know, residents in the neighborhood who I talked to, I was walking my dog, had some things to say about some of the drains and the trimming that happens, you know, on the, like on Bradford Street, when they trim the Phragmites and leave them, they end up in the drain. So
It's news to me, but
Yeah,
that's something
I
I'll
mean-
look at.
that happens in areas where they're trimming, you know, around drains, and then it's not getting completely cleaned up.
Okay.
And then it ends up in the drain and is part of the clogging issue. I mean, I've seen the drains on Island Street, a couple of them, over across from Bradford, I think. That's always filled. It's always filled. So yeah, I just wanted to have a clear, you know, kind of picture of how the whole system works, and I thought people would appreciate, especially after this storm, an explanation about that.
So, we do go out and clean the basins with the back truck at least twice a year. And we only have one truck. We did have a company come in to assist us, but it cost a fortune. We just don't have the money to do it. So we have a priority list, and by DEP regulations, we have to go down to Bright Rock and do those basins periodically and report what we find and what we did. And I mean, that area, the seawalls have helped tremendously. But this past flood, it came from the other side, from the harbor side. And we had a meeting before it happened, and I predicted that it was going to be the way it was, just because of the wind direction and the astronomical high tides. But once the marsh, the water goes out, the water off the street goes out as well, because we are below sea level there, so it's a little difficult to get the water out. But after a period of time when the tide goes out, the water goes out as well. There are some areas we have to look at to repair some, do some culvert work and do some drainage work on the infrastructure. I've only been here for 3 months, so I'm trying to get a handle on everything of what we have to do.
Yeah.
But we do go out and do them. Do we do them enough? I don't think we do. We probably could do more. But we do have to get all the areas in town as well. We do have one truck and one crew. We're doing the best we can.
Sean, I got a question. Over on Country Drive in Mayflower, that area is flooded out for years. I know it needs a lot of work. There's something really wrong with the drainage. It's either broken.
Rod and I were talking about that. We got to do some dredging out in the marsh, get those trenches open so the water flows freely. And again, when the marsh is full of water, everything backs up.
Yeah, I think it's more than that.
I don't know.
I drive through it every day, so there's something flooding down from Mayflower. You can see it. It comes down from an empty lot that's,
I saw it. I got pictures of it the other day from
Yeah.
a resident.
yeah,
There's a piece from Country Way to Ocean Street that needs to be investigated.
that's correct. That's what I meant. There is something that needs to be explored.
Yeah, there's always.
But there's a piece from the, in Bass Creek, from where the mosquito control left off. They went from Ocean Street about 400 feet, and then they ended. And then from that piece there to where we started the dredging back in 2000, whatever it was, 12 or whatever, 13, whatever we did. There's that piece right there that is totally inundated with Phragmites that needs to be done. And that is backing up water. Takes forever to get it through. In fact, there are no banks to that creek.
I know exactly.
The water just is over top the banks, and the frags have just gone all the way across, so there's really no, threat of the river. It's all inundated. That has to be cleaned out.
You had talked about that before. What was the price tag on that? Roughly, do you remember? I remember you having this conversation.
I don't know, I thought we were gonna probably, if we were able to just remove vegetation and not dredge it, which would, be a short-term solution, shorter-term solution. I mean, it seems like these frags are growing back Yeah.
They're like
The
bamboo.
Cascade, they're starting to get
bamboo.
back.
Like an inch
They're
a
coming
day.
back. They're just coming back, you know, every time you disturb it, it just seems to get worse. But, the dredging portion of it, they won't allow you to do the dredging portion of it without going through a lot of permitting. They will let you remove the vegetation, and not dredge. So that's kind of what we did in Johnson Terrace. And I gotta tell you, you know, we went through and we disturbed the Phragmites in there. You know, they came in and cut them with a machine, and they grew right back. I mean, within months. But the channel's still clean. Because the channel, we dug that out and we passed it to the side, and with conservation's permission. I think we're looking at over $100,000 to do that piece if it's vegetation removal. If it's dredging, it's probably 3 times that.
The goats eat it?
I don't think they do.
Goats eat it, that's a good question.
though.
Goats eat everything.
Yeah.
We got a
Like
question.
Is that,
If you got the name and,
Nick Garofalo, Monitor Road, is that part of like across where the airport is?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, do we run the airport?
No,
Can they,
we work with them.
I like working with them, will they pay for something?
They have a piece of equipment that they will share with us.
I mean, that sounds like a good start.
Is-
We don't disagree. It's the permitting.
Yep, I get
We
it.
started this back when I was here last time.
I know, and I mean, I live on one of the creeks on Monitor Road,
Yeah.
trust me, I'm pretty
Oh, I'm-
passionate about it.
Yep.
You know, it seems like maybe the airport could be a good friend of us if they let us use that.
They will.
That piece of equipment, as far as I've been told, Marshfield owns.
Yeah, I've been told,
And the airport has.
It's
And that was the
it's-
history on it. It was bought, Marshfield bought it.
I think
And then
both
the
did.
airport basically has it and uses it.
I don't know if it gets used.
I don't think
If
it
it's
does either.
I
Well,
think
we
it has
used it
been
on, we
used.
used it on Pershing
Yeah.
this summer.
I think that Marshfield, I think the DPW owns that machine,
We
technically.
don't own it, technically. We share it. We were trained on it back when I was here last time.
Who paid for it?
I believe they obtained that, Marshfield Airport did, through a grant with the
FA.
federal FAA.
Yeah.
Oh,
think you're
all right,
right.
well, maybe my information is wrong, I was told that.
No, we were all trained on it together.
Yeah.
This is back when I was here last time.
Yeah.
Has it been used a lot? I don't know.
I don't think it's been used once, from what I've been told, unfortunately. And
We
hey,
used
I'm
it on
not
Pershing.
Yeah.
saying anything bad, I just think maybe we should use it. I mean, from what I hear, it's pretty expensive.
One of the negatives to it, though, Dave Carrialdo wrote, is that it's got a lot of aluminum guardrail structure and stuff like that built inside, which means if you get in where there's any kind of trees, you're gonna wreck it. And that's why we didn't end up using it down on the other side of Plymouth Avenue there, out by the creek.
And to be honest with you, I think the work that has to be done that Rob was talking about,
Yeah.
it's gonna need a machine bigger than that.
That area, yeah, I would agree.
Okay, let's move on.
One other thing about the flooding drainage. People are concerned about pipes that are reportedly crushed or broken. So, I mean, how do you even know about that?
We have to go out and look at it, but I've had one person tell me that there was a damaged culvert that I have to go look at this week.
Okay.
Other than that, they gotta call the office and leave, so we have a work order, and I make sure that they go out and look at it. If they're busy, I go do it myself. But that's the way we have to do it,
Okay.
through the work order process.
You have questions?
I'm sorry, go ahead, go right in the middle there.
Mary Murphy, 252 Ocean Street. So I have 2 questions, one of which is, so the flooding in Brant Rock, it seems like you're gonna get ramped up, you've been here for 3 months. Is there a solution? Like, are we looking at it as a town? We're coming in now flooded, like the seawall is now up, I mean, what is then the next step? That's part 1 of my question. And I have another question as a follow-up.
Oh.
Too low.
It's, we all know it's below sea level. As far as putting more drainage in, that's not really going to do a lot. The seawalls have helped a lot. This past storm, like I said, came into the harbor, and I don't know what we could do about that. I mean, that doesn't happen very often where you get a southeast wind blowing 70 miles an hour and an astronomical high tide. It just pushed the water right in. I watched it come in.
Oh, yeah.
From the harbor.
No, the water does rush in on that side now. And so my question but is the answer just like we're below sea level and like we wash our hands of it? I mean, I know my house is not that much, but it's 7 feet above, right? And then I'm on 5-foot pylons. So we typically don't flood like others, but, you know, I'm just curious, like what's the next step? Is it just to kind of ignore?
I wouldn't say ignore it, but it's all about funding. I mean, I know once the tide goes up, the water goes down pretty quickly. And I know when we do this next project coming up, there's going to be some enhancements in the drainage. We'll see if it helps. But
Because I asked the state a couple of times, you know, why hasn't there been more work in Grant Rock? And the people that I did ask, they said, well, there's been no really projects or proposals put forward. So there was no projects or proposals like on the horizon or put forward by the town on behalf of Grant Rock. I mean, I know we have the turnaround coming, or the bullnose, but, so I'm just curious, like, I don't feel as though we should have the attitude like, well, it is what it is. Like, I feel as though if we had some number, any number, some plan, whether that plan is enormous or not, like, it seems like it would be befitting for at least the people that live in my neighborhood.
we have looked into some grant money for the drainage. It's an awful lot of money. The money we did get from the state is going towards the rehab project.
I understand
Go
that.
ahead.
And I have a second part of this
But
question.
then the seawall isn't completely
Yeah, the
done or
seawall
funded
hasn't been
yet
fixed
either, so.
completely either. Yeah, no, I know there's a bunch of different things happening, but it seems like we're kind of putting lipstick on pig while we're gonna be putting in this bullnose without fixing the major issue. My second question to this board is, I signed up for town alerts back in April. I got no alert. The Esplanade was closed. I know my neighbors behind me, there was 2 gentlemen that lost cars. They just were like, it was a beautiful sunny day, I live on the seawall. No water coming through, but the town closed the road. So like, who is responsible for sending out that text message?
It's not the DPW. And I can't be sure about this, so I want to say the police department. I'll find out. I make sure that if we're going to close roads down, I put it on Facebook so everybody knows the best I can. I do it from my car off my phone when I'm there. I don't have the answer to that question.
It's just that it's funny, the road closure, you might post on Facebook, but you might not have Wi-Fi, right? Like, there's a reverse 911 call for the schools. We've been asking for a long period of time, like, why can't we just be notified? If
I
we
think
close the road-
it's a question
Yeah,
for
it
the
is.
police department because
Yeah,
the
I
DPW
don't
doesn't
have the
access
answer to
that
that one, I'm
system.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Pam Christus, 60 Central Street. I don't think that you guys have visited the drains on Central Street. We have fish in them. I mean, it's, some lady walking by, she said, did you see the fish in the sewer there? And I said, what kind of fish? So I didn't look, but, so we flooded, of course, and there's always water. I mean, 2 houses down from me, there's always the grates, a foot above the grate is, so, but the drains don't go anywhere. And I was told that they're crushed and there's nowhere for the water to go because the pipes aren't.
Well, that's needs to be out of work.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Well, it's just the configuration of the whole area, you know, like, there's water, there's a river, the harbor, there's a lot of water, then the ocean, and then this big, low, like, I just don't, where is it gonna go? You know what I mean, when it rains that much, and there's storm after storm, and the
Go ahead.
tides.
Chris Bernstein, 83 Union Street. I'd like to thank the DPW for coming and cleaning my storm drain. And Mr. Patterson in particular for calling me back about an issue that I've had with the town. I can't imagine how many fish you've got frying right now, just witnessing this evening. So I want to thank you for calling me back. But it's a beautiful and fairly new truck that you've got that came to my end of my driveway, and the guys did a due diligence for close to a half an hour. I've been calling about that storm drain for probably the better part of a decade, since I bought my house in '98 on Union Street. But it looked like they dumped asphalt in it when they repaved Union Street, and they repaved it twice while I've been there. And so I thought it was just a no fix deal whatsoever. But, you know, they irrigated it for almost a half an hour with that beautiful truck and said, well, this is the best we can do, there's tree roots in there, you know? So they anticipate that it'll last maybe the winter, he said to me. You've got incredibly larger problems in this town than my little storm drain and my little 1 1/3 acre. But I've been here for many years. I covered the town for the local papers, and I have a great appreciation for Marshfield and the people that have been in this community for many years, like Warren Harrington, you mentioned. But the one question I personally have for the board, it's water related, and Mr. Patterson, you covered it briefly with me. Water main broke in front of my house, and nobody came up with any accountability. I asked the DPW at the time, I asked the water department at the time. It's a water main break in the street that washed out my property, washed through my barn. They said I had to file a claim with my private insurance. My private insurance said, oh, we'll go out to the town for their liability. I'm now talking with town council. I'm just wondering if anybody here can answer that question. When the water main breaks out in the street and causes property damage to your property, who's liable? The town is not liable? Because the secretary at the town council's office said to me when I finally spoke to her, why didn't you file a claim with the town? And I said, the DPW told me I couldn't, and the water department told me I couldn't, and the only one that was stepping up to the plate to give me any relief for my losses, I'm the one that swamped out my barn and remediated the water because it was going to get moldy, because nobody was doing anything. This was in February of 22. And then I get my new bill for homeowners insurance this year. I have a 760 square foot home that was a woodworking shop in 1870s. And they want to charge me $4,000 for my homeowners insurance this year. And on the bottom line on there, it says, experience fee, $635. I called them, I said, what's this experience? Well, have you had any claims in the past 10 years? I said, well, yeah, I had a water main break in front of my house on the street. Well, that's what the experience fee is. And so can anybody tell me? That's the only question. I'm sorry to go on about the whole story, but is the town not liable when a water main breaks and floods somebody's private property?
I feel like that's definitely a question for town council.
So I think I explained to Chris, right?
Yes, yes.
The protocol is that your homeowner's insurance goes through the town's insurance.
Right.
Whoever told you the town's not responsible is not correct.
Right.
But the only way you can do it is your homeowner's insurance has to go through the town's insurance.
Right.
To get reimbursed.
So they were remiss and didn't come after you, but are charging me that's what came.
And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I'm chasing them, and I just want to thank you so much for being so responsive and welcome you to the town. Thank you.
Again.
Again.
Again, yeah.
So why'd you leave in the first place? Why'd you leave the first time?
To be honest with you, my father was dying.
Oh,
Sorry
I
to
took
hear
a
that.
sorry to hear
job
that.
closer.
Yeah,
And when I got the job closer, he passed.
yeah.
But my intentions were to come back here. I loved the 8 years I was here before, and
Yeah.
I'm starting to like it again.
My father was a town engineer for many years, retired, and then came back as a consultant for another 15 years before he retired at 80. So,
Wow.
yeah, he get why you would like to.
We're
come
very
back.
retired
lucky to
young.
have such nice people.
You retired young.
Well, actually, he did. His aunt retired at 82 because her 75-year-old sister was retiring, and that was her ride. So we called my father a slacker.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good enough.
All right, let's move on. We got a vote to accept the minutes. January 8, 2024, open meeting minutes, I read.
Passing over the indirect charges?
Oh, my goodness, no. Pardon me, indirect charges discussion. Kenny, that was you.
Yeah, so I had sent you the email with the charges. I don't know if you've seen that before.
I didn't see it.
I mean, this is the calculation. It's pretty complicated. I'm expecting you're gonna be able to figure everything out right here and now.
Take your memory.
I didn't get an email from you, is this
I
the
didn't
one
get an
from
email.
Dan
I
Bowen?
sent it, no, I sent this a couple weeks ago to you, John.
Oh,
When you were
I
asking
didn't
the question
get it.
first time.
I can't even read it.
I
I
It's
can't,
little.
I know.
it's too small.
You want to summarize it?
Sure, I mean, what we do is we look at both the school, every year when we do the offset calculation, we look at what the school and the town does for solid waste. And we assign a value to that percentage that they contribute to the collection and the disposal. And then we send a memo off to town and Dan, I give that to Dan and Dan takes care of it through the town.
All right, Kenny,
Yes, sir.
look, we gotta discuss this, because some of these charges are direct charges. And my question to you was, what's the cost of the totes and the dumpsters and that, in our contract with Republic?
Which ones? The ones at the municipal facilities or the ones at the schools?
All of them.
So the schools, we get a disposal charge for all the.
No, you don't, no, let me say this again for the last time. It's in the contract for the totes, the number of totes, the dumpsters. They're in there, they're listed, there's 10, 12, 14. What do they, the physical equipment cost? I don't care about what's inside, I wanna know what that equipment costs.
There's no charge for.
I know that, but I wanna put it in the offsets.
Okay. So
That's
you
what
wanna
I've been
come up-
asking.
Okay,
It's in the contract at no charge.
correct.
But you don't have a contract with no charges in it. That's ridiculous. So we want to take those charges for the dumpsters and all that equipment in the municipal buildings and put it in the offsets. Because the ratepayers are not paying for those equipment that's filled with the trash.
Yep.
Do you have a way of figuring out what the charge should be, even though the contract says no charge? Because there's definitely not no charge.
We can come up with something.
We just call the company that manufactures this stuff.
We can come up with something.
Yeah, you have been asking them for that. He has been asking for that.
I've been asking that for a month. But it's there in the contract. It's listed.
Yes.
You know, if I can find my contract at home, I hadn't looked at it for
No, I've got it.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, good. In the indirects, we gotta go over this in more detail. I can't read this, it's way too small.
So can that get added to the
But we,
next time we talk?
next time,
about-
but we gotta go direct charges on pensions, on healthcare costs. Anything that's down to the penny is a direct charge in the enterprise fund manual. It doesn't change the cost, but it changes how it's directed at the town. I can explain it. I think you know.
Yes.
You know.
But what, can you explain the benefit of that so people?
Well, what happens is, if you take, let's take the pensions. We'll come up with a figure of $5 million. The town of Marshfield, taxpayers, pay the $5 million. They pay the $5 million. Then they turn around and charge the ratepayers for our employees what their charge is for the pensions. Let's call it $1 million. But the $1 million does not come off the $5 million. It goes back in the general fund. Right, you understand that? So if we go direct charge, the $1 million charge for the enterprise fund employees comes off the $5 million. The total bill is $5 million. So the town pays $4 million, the ratepayers pay $1 million, it's $5 million. The way it works now, the town pays $5 million, taxpayers, the ratepayers reimburse them $1 million. It doesn't go against that $5 million, it goes in the general fund. And they can use it any place they want. You know, they can buy oriental rugs for somebody's office, you know, they can buy flat TV screens. Yeah, you could, yeah. So we gotta go direct charges on our charges that are,
We have to make a vote on that, like,
not yet, well,
Not yet.
when we find out what the direct charges are.
yeah, I mean, I'd
We
like
got
to
a
get
separate
that
conversation
done.
going here, right?
I know, we're having trouble concentrating on
Paul, we can't
what we're
hear.
doing because yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's move on, and we'll bring that up the next meeting. Vote to accept the minutes, January 8th, 2024, open meeting minutes. So, I've read them, I have no problem with them.
Okay.
Anybody have a question?
No comment.
I make a motion that we
okay.
accept the January 8th, 2024 open meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have a motion. You have read the January 8th, 2024 executive meeting minutes? Any questions?
No comments.
Okay. I make a motion, we accept the January 8th, 2024 executive meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3. Superintendent's report.
I'm gonna keep it really brief.
Good.
Snow and ice, per usual. We're working on the budget for FY '25, putting that together. And Ken and Rod have been working on the sewer project down in Grant Rock diligently for the last, I don't know how many months. And seems to be going okay, right, Ken?
Yes,
We're nearing the end. You see the light at the end of the tunnel?
we're seeing something, yes.
Good. I know you've been awful busy with that. Building, we're still trying to go through our punch list to get things done. It's rather aggravating. We still have no cable, we don't have the lifts for the mechanic shop yet, but between myself and the group and Fred Russell, we're working on getting that squared away as soon as possible. That's all I really have.
You want to talk about the oil?
Oh, yeah, thank you. We're gonna bring the tank down there this week. Down to the,
Yeah, I was down there today with the pier, and they asked me to get the fishermen.
I spoke with the town.
I know, I did. It's on its way.
It's on its way.
Yep.
We kind of stretched out here lately.
No,
We'll
they,
get it down there.
no, they weren't complaining. They were just wondering, you know, do you have it? And I said, yeah.
I'll send you a picture if you like.
Send it to Bobby Tice.
That's all I got.
No, that's good. Thank you, Sean. Okay, I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our next meeting is February 4th, folks. Thank you for attending.